Welcome, everyone, to Rutgers at the Voice of College Football. I'm Adam Lamparello here with my co-host, Gabriel Pickup. If you're interested in watching the show, we got the StreamYard link if you want to call in, or if you want to give us your comments, we'd be happy to discuss them. And if you like the show, hit that like and subscribe button. So we have an outstanding episode for you tonight, right, Gabe? Very special episode that's going to focus on an incoming transfer from North Texas who is going to light up the football field for the Scarlet Knights. So you want to talk about that, Gabe?
Absolutely. We're going to have DT Sheffield coming in 5 minutes with change, and he's going to have a breakout year next year. I'm calling it now. He had a breakout year this year or last year already at North Texas, but he's going to be the first player in college history to have 2 breakout years. That's right. So nice. Do it twice. DT, we're excited to have you on, man. Can't wait to get started.
Absolutely. And, I'm starting to think, Gabe, with players like DT Sheffield and some of those transfers that are coming in a really, really impressive recruiting class, 2025 might be a great year for the Scarlet Knights despite that tough schedule. Watch out, Penn State and Oregon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's hoping it comes down to those 2 games. Here's hoping it comes down to Penn State, Ohio State, and that we beat Oregon. Oregon is the only acceptable loss we can really have all year. Obviously don't tell DT that because his mindset, just like the rest of the team should be, is to win every game. But from the casual fans' point of view and from the point of view of those doing rankings, you can afford a loss before the final 2 weeks. Make sure that you use that loss wisely if you're going to use it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And look, they call him DT Sheffield, but I am going to call him TD Sheffield because he's going to bring a lot of touchdowns for the Scarlet Knights this year in what I think is going to be a dynamic receiving core. And I think Ethan Kaliakmanis is going to take a step forward this year. That offense is going to be something to contend with. Now, on the defensive side, we've got some size and some speed coming in for Rutgers on the defensive line. And we've got some experience. So this Rutgers team, the pieces are starting to come together under Coach Schiano. This could be a year where Rutgers makes a real stride forward to that college football playoff.
This is the year that we start taking it seriously. We had 2 segue years. This hopefully won't be another segue year. But the thing is, defensively, what we have this year that we didn't have last year is depth, especially in the front 4. We've had injuries this past year, but every college football team has injuries. That's not going to change. It's about building the system, the culture. I've said it week in, week out. With Coach Schiano, that is very possible because he is one of the best coaches, if not the best in total in Rutgers football history. So hopefully that culture can just get started with this whole new team on the other side of the football. The one that's defending is the one that the other team will fear.
Absolutely. Coach Schiano, one of the best coach in Rutgers football history. Can't ever forget that 2006 season like we discussed. But I think another season like 2006, even better, might be in store in 2025 and 2026. Got to give it to Coach Schiano and his staff for the great recruiting class. He's bringing in some great talent. Lots of 3 stars. We've got some 4 stars, and we've got some great transfers. And most importantly, filling the needs that were left from the seniors graduating, and also, from some of the deficiencies we saw last year in size and speed on that defensive line. I think the future looks bright for Rutgers, and it starts with DT Sheffield. Can't wait to have him on this evening.
Yeah, and one player that'll be next to him on that offensive line that we're really excited about is transfer Colin Weber. Or Weber. I believe it's Weber. Colin, you'll have to come on the show and correct me if I'm wrong, man. But we just got him from the transfer portal, blanking out on the name, unfortunately, but he was ranked number 9 out of 10 for the top 10 tight end transfers for 2025. So, Colin, we're excited for you too, man. We'd love to have you on.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on. We'd love to have as many players on as possible. And we're looking at you, Ethan. You've got a good year coming up. We'd love to hear you talk about some of the incoming transfers on the offensive side. What's your vision for the offense is and where you see the team going in 2025. So it should be an exciting year. The only thing I don't like, Gabe, is the off season. It's the longest of any sport, and boy, it is long.
That is true. But guess what's around the corner? Maybe in a month or so, the transfer portal. We get some juicy transfers reopening, and I believe when I went to school, at least when I committed to Rider University in 2018, the deadline was May 1st. So that May 1st to April 10th-ish area, there's going to be a lot of good news, a lot of bad news, and a lot of neutral news to cover. So we're going to be able to extend these shows from an hour to maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours. If you started smoking cigars at the beginning, you'd be able to finish 10 of them.
That's absolutely right. The shows are going to be exciting as we prepare for what's going to be a very, very exciting 2025 season. We're looking to have some of the Rutgers players on, some of the coaches on, and to be the headquarters for Rutgers Scarlet Knights football. It's going to be a great year. So when you look ahead to 2025, Gabe, what do you think are the 2 or 3 most important things Rutgers has to improve on to really contend in the Big Ten?
So to me, number one would be I can't put quarterback consistency at number one because Ethan's a great talent. It definitely does need to improve. But with that being said, I'll push it aside and I'll go for the meat of the offense, or the meat of the defense, rather, the front four, even the front seven. I have a lot of faith in Jacoby Henderson, in Kaj Sanders, in Cam Miller specifically because of that Penn State that Penn State culture that he is bringing, to that it's important to win, and you won't take anything less than winning. But to me, the front four: Eric O'Neill, Doug Blue Eli, Keyshawn Griffin, Bradley Weaver. You guys need to make the quarterback feel like he doesn't have any mother effing time to throw the ball. And you need to make the running back feel like he can't afford to go wide left, wide right, and get past their linebackers. They need to attack the middle and settle for the yard or two gain. Because if they break past that front four, the linebackers, they're going to have a little bit of trouble chasing down some of these running backs that are in the Big Ten. So number one, for sure. You have any thoughts on that one?
Absolutely. I think, the key is going to be for that defensive line to really gel as a unit and put pressure and disrupt the quarterback. And it's not about getting sacks. What it's about is disrupting the quarterback's timing and getting there within 2 seconds so that the quarterback really is not comfortable in the pocket, has to make some very quick decisions, which often leads to incompletions and interceptions. And if Rutgers can do that, that takes a lot of pressure off the secondary. Because if you don't have a really solid pass rush, no matter how many people you put back there, a wide receiver is eventually going to get open. And that's what we don't want to have happen this year. And I think this year we don't want to rely too much on the blitz. We want to rely upon those front four being able to get pressure so we could drop more people in the secondary, reduce their coverage time, and make teams one-dimensional.
And number two for me, we're getting him on the show in a little bit. Utilize DT Sheffield. That man is a beast. He can run quickly. He's good at running his routes. Slot receiver, so he's good for the check down pass. He's good for the wide receiver screen. And we have some receivers, KJ Duff, for instance, Ian Strong. These guys are good blockers too. So if he's used for the wide receiver screen, he should be able to get downfield, barring any reading the playbook on the defensive end. So Ethan, you need to throw this man the ball. I'm not trying to cause any issues here because we'd love to have you on the show, but just make sure he's utilized in one way or another. That's my number two.
Absolutely. And I think, when it comes down to the running game for the Scarlet Knights next year, Antoine Raymond is, I think, going to have a breakout year. And I think that with the running game being what it's going to be, if Ethan improves like we think he will, that's going to be an offense that a lot of defenses are going to struggle to stop. And if we put that together with a defensive line that's fast, that's big, and a secondary with that experience, Rutgers can put together a complete team this year.
Absolutely. And my number three, Colin Weber, just talked about him. He's going to be a great weapon because he is known for his receiving ability. and he was great for Drew Aller. Can that translate to Ethan? I think it can, but he needs to show that he's capable of utilizing DT, utilizing Colin, because these wideouts are a threat, but we need to focus on the interior a little more.
Absolutely. Now, do you think that there's any trap games for the Scarlet Knights this year that we have to worry about? You mentioned, I think that was the Ohio game or the Miami of Ohio.
Ohio week 1. I think that they've been talked about as a. Sorry, I'm trying to send our guy the link here because it appears that he's unable to get on with that link. So I'm just resending him the YouTube link in the meantime so he can get on from
okay.
YouTube. But yeah, Ohio, that first week, that's going to be our week where we have to show that we mean business. Offensively, we have to click. Defensively, we have to prove that our scheme will work. So to me, that is the game we have to focus on as avoiding the trap game. And I'll let you just take it away here for a second just so I can send him this YouTube link and get him on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want, you could also copy and paste the StreamYard link at the top of the screen. I think it's going to be an interesting year for Rutgers because when you look back to last year, definitely the schedule was easier. We know that for a fact. But Rutgers had about 8 injuries, season-ending injuries to starters. Okay, not reserves, starters. That was devastating for the Scarlet Knights. But I have to give Rutgers credit. They do have a good culture that persevered through that. And what you saw after that 4-0 start, we lost by a touchdown in Lincoln, Nebraska, but that game was very close. We got blown out against Wisconsin. I just think during that Wisconsin game, their heads weren't in it. They came out flat. But against UCLA, only a 3-point loss. Against the USC Trojans, sure, it was 42-20. But for 3 quarters of that game, they were in it, and they were 1 score away. So the losses were not blowouts. The losses were a product of injuries and not just winning those 4 or 5 plays that often decide a game. But they did bounce back against Maryland. They did bounce back against a good Golden Gopher team in Minnesota. Did suffer that heartbreaking loss to Illinois, and then, of course, suffered a heartbreaking loss in the Rate Bowl against Kansas State. But if you look at the vast majority of those losses were real close. And if you think if there were not those injuries, if they didn't have so many injuries, I think a lot of those losses would have been wins.
I mean, you see it with, for example, professionally, I'm a New York Jets fan, and we were 4-13, but we did not play like we were 4-13 until the fourth quarter, until crunch time. And unfortunately, that's what it came down to a lot of these games. We can think of one specific game, the I-word team that we shall not say, where you just see these mental mishaps. And unfortunately, these things happen in sports to even the best teams. So, I mean, it's kind of a fluke year in terms of the end results, right? I mean, a lot of times you can just call it luck, and it's okay to do that. So we'll see how it looks next year going forward.
Yeah, and you got to really give a lot of credit to Coach Schiano for what he's been able to do in the offseason because, when we lost the Rate Bowl, a lot of people, including myself, were saying, gosh, what could have been this year if it weren't for the injuries, if it weren't for those really tight losses. But Coach Schiano got right back on it with some great recruits, some great transfers. And I think this year's Rutgers team is going to be better than last year's team. Now, without further ado, everyone, we have DT Sheffield, Rutgers transfer, joining the show. DT, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Thanks for taking your time. DT started out at Washington State and then went to the North Texas Mean Green, where he was a star and honorable mention All-American by College Football Network. 66 receptions, 822 yards, 11 touchdowns, including some big games against Tulane, 9 receptions, 125 yards and a touchdown. 11 receptions for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns against Florida Atlantic, and against Memphis, 8 receptions, 122 yards and 2 TDs. Now, I will say this, people might think, it's crazy, but instead of DT Sheffield, I'm going to also call him TD Sheffield because he's going to be scoring a lot of touchdowns for the Scarlet Knights this year, and it's going to be a star. Welcome to the show, DT. Thanks so much for coming on. Gabe, you want to start it off?
Yeah, how are you doing, man? Much appreciated you coming on the show. Sorry for the technical difficulties beforehand. So, first question I have here is growing up in Corinth, Mississippi, a place I don't know too much about. Adam, I'm sure you don't know a whole lot about. So, what were some sort of your pastimes that you were liking to do down there? And what are some things you can tell us about Mississippi that some people might not know?
Yeah. So can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
from Mississippi. Mississippi a small place. I mean, it ain't much to do there. Obviously, well, since I've been living there, I've been hanging with my friends. It's really country. I mean, I ride horses.
Mm.
We hunt and stuff. It's not a lot in Mississippi. I mean, it's a great place.
Yeah, it's a nice place to kind of get your mind off of things, huh?
Oh yeah. It's pretty. I mean, not too big and pretty small. It's a great fit. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam, you got the next question?
Yeah, so DT, you really had a very, very impressive year for North Texas. I saw some of your highlights, and you are a seriously elite athlete. So, kind of what brought you to Rutgers? Who recruited you, and what are your hopes for the upcoming year with the Scarlet Knights?
I got in the portal after North Texas. They DM'd me one of the dudes on the staff DM'd me and it was like, we would like to get you up here on a visit. I mean, obviously, Coach Shiano was like, they don't do offers. It's a business nowadays. It's either you come here or you don't. So, they texted me and was like, come on a visit. I mean, that was my first time hearing from anybody there, and I came on a visit. Talked to the coaches, Coach Brock, Coach Perry. He's not with us no more. But yeah, I mean, they recruited me. I mean, I never seen a school that had two receiver coaches that actually coached in the NFL, and then the head coach actually coached in the NFL as a head coach. So, that was the big decision of my choice. Obviously, I'm trying to get to the next level, and I felt like Rutgers was a great fit for me, and they could help me get to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Awesome.
we on the show believe you can do that for sure. So, Coach Shiano, was his hard knock approach in recruiting sort of a a plus for you, or was it a little bit of like a hold on, let me kind of think about what I'm doing here before I commit? What was your mindset when he came up to you and told you that that's how Rutgers kind of does things?
It was a plus. Obviously, he coached in the league. He know the ins and outs about how to get to the NFL. He coached a lot of people, and obviously, he gave me the ins and outs, what to do, and that he was going to help me and do what he can do. It all just came up to what I did and performed and stuff like that. It was a big deal. He was a head coach. He knows a bunch of GMs and stuff, coaches that's in the league now to this day. And obviously, he got other people here recruited, and then you got 5 more people that just got invited to the combine. It's really good. So, he got a lot of, pull to get people to the next level, and I like that about him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. And we're thrilled. We're thrilled to have you with the Scarlet Knights because Gabe and I think you're going to be a big time impact player this year. So, have you got a chance yet to meet like some of the players? On the offensive side, like Ethan Cali Kamanis, some of the wideouts, and start to kind of gel with the team, or is it
Yeah, I
still kind
have.
of
Yeah, I have. We
okay?
actually throwing been throwing a couple of these past weeks. Me and Ethan on the same page. Obviously I've been catching a lot of balls from him and Johnny. But yeah, me and Ethan pretty much on the same page now.
Got any touchdown celebrations yet, or are we gonna have to wait for week
That's
one?
awesome to
Hopefully.
hear.
Not yet. Our coach, he was just saying it in team meeting about the celebrations. Obviously we can celebrate, but he wants us to
Yeah.
celebrate with our teammates, and that's what I'm gonna do every time touch the end zone. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So on an individual level, I've called you. I don't know if you remember 2021 Debo Samuel when the team was completely injured and he kind of stepped up as the wideout, the slot receiver, the running back, a blocker even. I kind of called you sort of the 2021 Debo on this show multiple times, and I think you could kind of play that role for us. Would you say that that's a fair comparison? And what other players, if any, in the NFL, maybe some college players that you've seen in years past, would you say best resemble your game?
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Debo can do it all. Obviously I can do it all too. Growing up in high school, all my 4 years, I played quarterback. even though he didn't play quarterback. But I mean, you can put me anywhere on the offensive side besides the O line. But yeah, I can play it all. I mean, that's a good comparison. Then another person I compare my game to is Tyreek. We're not too big, but we're also not too small. We play bigger than we are. Pretty fast. Electric, can make people miss. Good with the ball in the hand in space. So I compare my game to him a lot. I try to watch him on film and try to get some, stuff from him.
Yeah, and he started off on special teams too in the NFL. You started off on special teams at Washington State more so than a receiver at first, and then both of you sort of blossomed into receivers. So I kind of like that comparison too, Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah. One question I have for you, DT, is I'm from New Jersey originally, and I went to school in Alabama, and it's a big, big difference from New Jersey. So how are you adjusting to life in New Jersey, and how are you enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it pretty well. I mean, it gets cold here. I mean, snow out of nowhere, but Washington State, it was about the same. So I'm pretty used to the cold. I mean, obviously, never had a problem with the cold. I mean, I like it here. It's calm, peaceful. I mean, obviously, you got teams in the NFL that plays in the snow and stuff like that. So really, just preparing myself for that time that comes.
Absolutely. And one thing I've wondered, how would you say that defenses have changed recently over the past few years that makes it so much harder for offenses to execute? What kind of defensive schemes have made it much more difficult to really execute and have a consistent, consistently move the ball?
I mean, when teams drop 8, at North Texas, we threw the ball a ton, and a bunch of teams started figuring out our scheme. They started dropping 8. I mean, that's pretty hard, to beat when the team drop 8 and you're like a spread offense, that throws the ball a lot.
Yeah.
So I say dropping 8 against a team is pretty hard, but I mean, it's beatable, but yeah.
Yeah. I suppose that sort of works to your strengths when you're in the slot, though, right? Because when they play 8, they'll be doing a lot more check down passes, and obviously the check down receiver is usually the slot receiver. So that should, in theory, if people play 8 again next year, you should continue to get a lot more of those short catches where you get a lot of yards after catch. Correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can throw the short passes or you can run the ball. That obviously make a defense change their scheme up and probably try to, come up, play the run or play the short pass, and that's when you go over the top. But yeah, I'm excited here. I'm excited to be here. I mean, I bring a lot to the table. I'm ready to stretch the defense. Take some deep shots and just win, man. Win
Yeah,
the championship.
absolutely.
That's the plan.
That's a great mindset to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, when I was looking at some of your highlights, the word electric comes to mind. Like, you can make people miss, and you've got the speed to outrun a secondary clearly. So, is part of the game plan going to be to just get you in open space and let you do your thing?
I mean, it's pretty much the same, as they've been running. But I mean, obviously, I think they're trying to work up some new stuff. A bunch of different things to use me and get me open in space. And then you got 2 giants on the outside, so it's really gonna be hard to defend us this year. I can tell you that. You try to take the deep balls away, they hit me with the short balls, or run the ball or whatever. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be an exciting season. I can say that.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a little more sort of Cliff Kingsbury style offense this year. Losing an amazing running back, but you have 3 in committee to replace him, and then you have KJ Duff outside too, who that man is physically gifted, and you're versatile. I don't even know what the adverb for that would be, but you have a lot of versatility to your game. Do you see that as more of a compliment, and sort of where do you think that your game complements with his?
Yeah, he can take the top off too. So I mean, it's gonna be pretty hard to, guard all of us. I mean, he can go up and get it. Ian can go up and get it. They can stretch the ball down the field. I mean, it's gonna be a pretty amazing show this year. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and I didn't
Yeah, I
even
can't wait to
mention
see it.
I didn't even mention Colin Weaver yet, who obviously Rutgers just got from the transfer portal, ranked number 9 tight ends that transferred this past season. So it's funny that you mentioned bringing some new sort of philosophies to this offense. Because last question I have here is like, what sort of lessons would you say you bring to the team from North Texas, from Washington State, from the culture of Mississippi? And also, do you think there will be an immediate impact between you and Ethan? Obviously, the answer in your head is going to be yes, but do you believe there will be any sort of learning curve like there are with many other rosters, or do you think it's just going to be like shotgun go?
I mean, I think it's gonna be shotgun go.
Okay.
Ethan, like the receiver I'm replacing, he was pretty good and dynamic, but I think the thing that's different between me and him is speed. My speed different than his, but obviously, me and Ethan's getting used to each other. He's getting used to my speed and stuff like that, so we're kind of connecting with that. And then you got the tight end. He can move well. Obviously, we can throw it to him a lot. I mean, we got some tight ends on our roster that can do pretty much a lot. But
Yeah.
adding him wasn't a big get too.
Sort of the receiving threat tight ends that we were missing last year, if I believe.
Yeah, and then me bringing to the room. I mean, I'm mature. I mean, I'm the oldest in the room. This is my last year. I mean, obviously, this is my first year here, so a lot of people know more about this offense than I do. They helping me, and then some of them are taking stuff from me, to put in their game and stuff like that. I mean, it's just like the receiver room. They just want to win. We want to beat defenses. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And I think the culture at Rutgers is a winning culture. I'm thrilled and so excited for this year. So my last question for you is, what are your individual goals for this year? Because like you said, you want to get to the next level. And if you ask me, you've got the talent and you've got the kind of electricity as a receiver. What are your goals? 1,000 yards receiving, touchdown, any specific things you want to accomplish to really, impress those NFL scouts?
Yeah. So my goals this year is I want to be 1,000-yard receiver. I want to have 10 plus touchdowns.
Okay.
That's a That's a good goal. And then obviously I want to be a first team Big Ten receiver and just want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, you can definitely do all of that, and I mean, you got the 10 last year. You got 12 total to be exact. So yeah, that's definitely good goals, man. I appreciate that mindset. The win first, but also accomplish these individual goals too to help myself. So Adam, you said that was your last question, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm real excited about you, DT, because with the experience and leadership you bring along with the talent you have, you're going to make Rutgers a better team. So, man, thanks for coming to the Scarlet Knights, and we're rooting for you this year.
So, is there anything else you'd like to add about the upcoming season, Rutgers as a whole, or is it all good?
I can say we're gonna win a lot of games this year. I mean, we got a lot of people doubting us. I think people were saying our record are gonna be 7-6, but we're gonna prove everybody wrong.
7-6 last year, definitely better than that this year.
Yeah, we're gonna prove a bunch of people wrong this year.
Awesome. Well, DT, it's been awesome talking to you. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. You're welcome here anytime, and just wishing you all the best at Rutgers this year. We'll be rooting for you in Piscataway. So thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much.
You got it. All right, everyone, that was DT Sheffield. Certainly going to be an impact player. If you listen to his words, he wants a win, and he's confident that Rutgers is going to do a lot of winning this year. And a good portion of that is going to be because of DT Sheffield. He's got the electricity, the speed, the experience, and the leadership to really be a star wide receiver for the Scarlet Knights. DT, we thank you for coming on. Hope to see you again and wish you all the best. So your thoughts, Gabe?
My thoughts are my 10-2 or 10-3 prediction is looking a little more. I'm a little more confident in it after hearing that. It was sort of like pep talk, huh?
Yeah, I feel a lot better after talking to him because he's got the confidence, man. And if you look at his highlight reels, he is electric. I saw a couple plays he made against, I believe it was Memphis. Whoa. I mean, just making people miss and just speed. So he's a player that Rutgers is going to is very lucky to have, and who's going to really. He also seems like a really good guy. He seems like a guy who's mature and knows what his goals are. And I could certainly see him going to the NFL Combine and raising some eyebrows there. So great interview with DT Sheffield, and we hope to see him again. Hope to have more of the Rutgers players on the field talk about the winning culture that's going to make the Scarlet Knights a formidable contender in 2025.
You know what he has? To me, he has that Shiano mindset where no matter what, good, bad, ugly, you're going to find a way to win. You're going to achieve your individual goals too, because the Shiano mindset includes confidence. But you're going to find a way to win, be a team player at the end of the day, build up your teammates instead of tearing them down for individual reasons. So he's going to do both. He's going to accomplish his 1,000-yard season. That should be a given because KJ and Ian are fantastic receivers. But to me, DT gets the ball first before anyone, including Colin and including Ethan's legs. And I think Ethan knows that.
Yeah, and it's great to hear that him and Ethan all been throwing the ball around because, it's got to take some adjustment getting used to a new quarterback. And I think that they complement each other, and being able to throw to a guy with his speed and his just, breakaway talent. Rutgers is going to be tough. And I love how serious he is. He's focused. He's ready to go. And I think that we are going to be saying a lot of TD Sheffield this year because you're going to see a lot of touchdowns from that great man.
I mean, he got 11 last year. To me, he's going to get maybe 14 total. He'll get about, to me, 12 receiving, 2 rushing, because obviously we're going to be giving him the ball every now and then on the backfield too, or what's technically a pass but really just a hitch forward. He's going to get the ball that way too. Wide receiver screens, anything that goes behind the quarterback is a run. They'll count that as a run. He'll get his rushing touchdowns too, no problem. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Gabe, I think that's a wrap for this show. I think we had a great interview with DT Sheffield, and I hope people come back and watch that because that's going to be something special. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, to me, it's kind of funny, but speaking with him, he spoke about himself from an objectively positive point of view, not subjective, not personally why he thinks he's the best. It's why everyone else analyzing his game should know he's the best whenever he takes the field. It seems like he's able to join a panel and just have a reasonable, unbiased discussion about why he can help this team win. So that's why I'm more sold on my 10-3 prediction now.
Yeah, and you know what I really loved about him is that you can tell he is a team player. And, anytime you ask him, what's your goals, it always comes back to winning, winning, winning. And that kind of mindset, that kind of team player is going to make him invaluable. And I think he's got the intangibles. He's got the desire. He's got the team-oriented mindset. He's got the hunger. He's got the maturity and the experience. And that's going to take him a long way. And we could see him playing on Sundays.
Absolutely. Where do you think? Do you think he's the most likely on the team to land on a team next year in the NFL?
I think he's has as good of a chance as anyone on the team. Absolutely, because of his talent and also his mindset and his maturity. He's the real deal, and I think NFL teams look for those intangibles like that maturity, ability to persevere, overcome adversity, and he just seems like the kind of guy who can do that and who's all about the team and all about winning. That's the kind of qualities you want in an NFL player.
Certainly. So one last thing, or I guess you could call it a segment, if you will. I'm sure you'll have your takes on this, that I wanted to say, going through sort of this depth chart here, the guys I think have at least a 50% chance of, if not getting drafted, at least landing on a practice squad or getting on a roster next year. I see DT Sheffield, certainly. I think he'll get drafted. Right now, I think maybe, I would say maybe a round four prospect, but he could certainly be a day one guy too, given his natural abilities. Brian Felter, redshirt senior, going to be his last year no matter what. He's sort of been sort of a pillar to that offensive line. And if there's one guy on the O-line that I think could get drafted, it would be him. Colin Weber, obviously, being a top 10 transfer tight end. He'll be a top 10 tight end in general this year. Ethan's got a chance. Looking through, I see, I would say on the defense, Cam Miller probably has the best chance. And I'll give Jacoby Henderson a shot too.
Yeah, I agree with all those, and I think Ethan, I think, has a real possibility because he's got the talent, he's got the arm. I mean, he has an arm.
Yeah,
And it's just a matter of how is he going to do when the pocket breaks down and avoiding those turnovers. But you know what? That was last year, and he still had a good year, and he's developing. And I think he's going to develop into a great quarterback this year. And like DT said, going to be a hard offense to stop. And I think it really is. And I think they're going to be surprising a lot of teams. That's why I predicted when the Ducks from Oregon come Piscataway, they will not quack. Instead, they will lose. And we'll see what happens. I'll be in Piscataway for that game, and hopefully we'll see DT score some touchdowns against that Ducks defense.
Absolutely. I mean, if there's one thing that I can relate this team to in terms of, obviously the Super Bowl is a much bigger stage, but in terms of the Super Bowl, the Chiefs focused all of their attention on Saquon Barkley, and he's the only person they stopped. So if you want to stop, going back to DT's point about this offense being hard to stop, if you want to stop one person on this offense, whether it's DT, Colin, you want to blitz Ethan, make sure he doesn't run. As long as Shiano implements the right backup options or the right, the right kill plays, these guys are still going to find their ways to get their yards, get the touchdowns, attack different ways with the wide receivers, different check down options. The offense will cook. It's about the defense, and I think the defense will thrive.
Yeah, especially with the size they're going to have on the defensive line, new defensive coordinator. And I'll tell you, I am starting to change my mind. I'm really excited about this season for Rutgers. It could be something special, and it could be the start of many years of very special seasons.
Absolutely. We got to keep Shiano around this year and moving forward. I think he's our best option to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. We had a great interview. I'll do some more recruiting. I'm sure you will too. And we'd love to have anyone on the team on this podcast. We'd love to have any coaches, any diehard Rutgers fans, anyone that's willing to talk Scarlet Knights. We'd love to have you on.
Yeah, my final thought, as DT said, win, win, win. And I think we're going to be doing a lot of that this year. So want to thank everybody for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you enjoyed it, hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to be back here at 7 p.m. next Monday, and we may go live when there's breaking news, but we will have a lot of special shows planned for you in this offseason as we prepare for what should be a special 2025 season for Greg Schiano and the Scarlet Knights. Thanks so much for being here. Go Scarlet Knights.